The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
Thanks for joining us for episode number 468 of the West Tigers podcast. And thanks to everybody who tuned in last week on YouTube. Record numbers. It was fantastic, Nick. And it was just you and Jordan. So I said to you guys, I said, well, that's it from now on. Just you two do it. And no, but we're here. But that was lovely. And thanks to everybody who's finding the podcast and liking it and sharing it and also commenting on it and subscribing. But it's really good to see those numbers, Nick.
Very good. I'm assuming the numbers are going to be down tonight because Jordan's not here, but we'll get Jordan back on for everyone ASAP.
Jordan's got that drawing power, as they say. Yes, exactly.
He does.
Let's kick off with one word, Josh. 22-16, the final score against the Bulldogs. We led 16-6 at halftime. I didn't see the game live. I was out at dinner for my birthday, and it was very, very happy to see the final score. I watched the game this morning, though. But what was your one word out of that game at CommBank?
Well, firstly, happy birthday, Joel. I'm glad the team got 2 points for you. That was very good present.
Thank you.
My one word is needed. We needed a victory. The players did what was needed, and we needed some guys back, and we got them back. So there were lots of things we needed coming into this weekend, and I think we got them all. And I think this was a win, as I said, that we did really need, and it put us in a good position. I think after the 3 losses, but then the bye, to come back out, have a win, to boo Lachlan Galvin for 80 minutes was also something that was needed. So there were lots of things needed, and all of them seemed to happen. We also needed no more injuries, but I think we ended up with 3 guys injured on the bench. So that one probably wasn't so needed. But yeah, needed is my word for the week.
I would add to that needed from the perspective of not having one of those dreaded runs of outs that we've so often had, where we end up with 5 or 6 losses after a promising start. Like it's curbed that. It keeps the numbers that I'm going to flash up on the screen a little bit later for our countdown to the finals, keeps those numbers looking a little bit better than they would have if we had lost. What do you got for us, Nick?
I agree with Josh, and I said it on the last pod that we absolutely had to win that game against the Dogs because it's going to get harder, and I didn't want 4 in a row, losses leading into the Panthers game. So I can't disagree with that one. But mine is resilience, because just the way that we defended really won us that game. We started with incredible defense in the first half and kept the Dogs out, and continued that right up to the full-time siren. So, Dogs had plenty of opportunities. It's funny, we'll talk to Statsman Josh shortly, but I was having a quick look at the stats just before we jumped on, and it's amazing how many stats the Dogs actually beat us in.
Yeah.
Including possession and and time with the ball. It was amazing how many chances they had, but we kept them out. So resilience for me.
Yeah, they seem to get an awful lot of 6 agains, but
yeah, I don't think we've got any.
I don't think we've got any.
Please explain.
One,
None.
Zero.
Zero.
Got to be a new record.
We'll go through all the one-word submissions from the West Tigers podcast forum shortly. I've got a couple. I've got gritty. I thought it was a gritty performance. They're the types of games that you win and you play finals often. So that's a gritty performance from the Tigers. Walking wounded, because there seems to be an awful lot of tape being used on an awful lot of West Tigers players in different parts of their bodies. I've gone for, I could either interchange it either class or Buller, because it's sort of the same thing. And what I mean is that the class of a few guys like Buller, Luai and Buller, both with try-saving tackles, Stafford Toa to his great credit as well. But having Appy back, just having that touch of class and those NRL standard players, it transforms the team. And I think that was probably the difference in the end, was just a little bit of our finesse. You look at the game of Burton and you look at the game of Galvin and their hooker, and I just think we sort of, just in those key positions, our little bit of class probably was the difference in the end. Before we skip back into that game, but a little bit of it looks potentially like recruitment news. I think it's developed from being a rumor to being something that looks to be something that seems to be on the go, and that's the signing of Jake Averillo for 2027 and beyond. Not a bad pickup for the West Tigers because he can certainly fill that right centre place. He scored a whole heap of tries for Redcliffe there last year. But he's also got a fair bit of utility value. Can play 5'8", can play fullback, can play on the wing. A little bit out of left field, Nick, but they seem to be the way West Tigers does business nowadays, where we don't read a lot about it. And now it seems like this is something that we pretty much bank on. I think he would certainly strengthen our backline.
Yeah, it's funny because it came out very quickly. I think Jordan put it in our group chat today that there were some rumours. And of course, I asked the question, where's your source? And he said forums. And I thought, well, I'm not going to believe forums. Yeah. Had a quick look on X and there was nothing, like no news at all. And then I think Code Sports came out. I think it was Code Sports came out and put an article that West Tigers were favourites to secure him. So I was quite shocked. To be honest, I don't watch a lot of teams very closely, but I did have a look at his profile. So it looks like he can play anywhere from one, wing, centre, even in halves, like 5'8" and halfback. So pretty versatile. I'd rather get Josh's opinion though. Like, where would you play him, Josh? Like, would he be coming as a centre, or would he be? I did see the article mention that he'd probably slot in for Luai, but I can't see him playing 6.
No, I definitely don't see that happening. He's been at centre for the Dolphins. He's been right centre for the Dolphins for the last year and a half. Like that is his best position. He does give you that utility value, and we've seen with injuries this year, it's useful to have that value. And I think he'd probably be the guy who slots back into fullback if there is an injury to Buller. So it's really a really smart signing from that point of view. He has really good pace. He defends reasonably well. He isn't, though, Nick, very tall. So back to your challenges of short guys. He's still only
he's 6 foot, I believe.
6 foot 183 centimeters. So he's not tiny either. So that's all right. So not too bad. So yeah.
When we look at our backline and we look at 2027 and beyond, presuming he's playing right centre, which that opens up a whole can of worms in regards to discussions about Stafford Toa's future. But what I like about it is that Averillo's played 100, I think somewhere around 110, 120 first grade games. I mean, and he's 25. I think that's what we need for the back line is the injection of one more experienced guy. Then you've got a fair bit of experience there with him and Taruva and Buller, of course, but there's going to be younger players around them, you would suggest, when we look at next year, Taylor May. Like, that's a pretty good mix of experience and youth, about half experienced, half youthful. So, yeah, I like it. I hope it's a signing that happens. And I guess, Nick, it does go further towards what you would think is the Luai money being spent in that, and we spoke a little bit about this on the last pod that I was on, strengthening some weaknesses in that money that we're getting from Luai. And that seems to be a good strategy. It seems to me, and I know I go on about this, we seem to be quite a stable team when we're fully fit, and we're just making the improvements that are needed. It's not a shotgun approach, just sign anyone that we can. It seems to be quite strategic nowadays.
It has to be. And you've really got to work out how to spend that money in the best way possible, because you hit the nail on the head. I think we've seen that the priorities now is we do need to strengthen a couple of those positions where we've seen that we've been weakened when, Jareem's out, and when we've had struggles in the outside backs with injuries, and now in the second row, in the back row as well, with Sam Weller out. So it's very hard to plug gaps like that. And we've talked about it too. You can't replace quality with quality, but you've got to get someone that's going to be there to do not just a job, but, that can fit into the team structure. So as for the example of fullback, as hard as Heath Mason tries, he's not a Jareem Buller. There's probably not many players that do play like Jareem Buller. And geez, we're lucky, going back to my resilience and defense topic earlier, the way that he defended, he saved us a couple of tries, didn't just score tries, but he saved us tries yesterday. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way the Averillo news goes.
If we do sign him, Josh, it looks like Connor Watson is not coming our way. Last I read, he might be going to the Dragons for 27, just for that 1 year. Which I think is a bit of a pity. I would have liked to have had him because he does fill that other spot. But I mean, is that the type of player that you think will target? We don't know with Hayward because he is very young, hasn't debuted yet, as to how that transition from Appy to Hayward is going to look. So, what do you think should be our other recruitment target for next year if we do get Averillo?
Yeah, if we could have a Arillo, I think that gives us a little more depth in the outside backs. I thought it was interesting that Latu Fainu, played hooker last week. He played 35 minutes this week for Appy, like it was a significant amount of time. Um, and so he's been playing more hooker. Like they didn't have Hope on the bench this week.
Yeah.
Latu was the actual hooker, and if that continues for the season, him playing that hooker lock role, perhaps that's kind of the other option for not getting Connor Watson, and maybe we don't go. I think we need a little more, probably another prop. I think, we've seen with Sione playing back row, and Royce only playing 15 minutes. Like we are a little short of props we've probably seen over the last couple of weeks, especially with Twal playing lock. You kind of got May, you've got Pole. I don't think Pole can play more than 40 minutes. So I think another prop to kind of support that bench rotation. And I think Bunty's quite reached the heights. I think so. Some money into that prop rotation, I think would be good additional depth for me. Yeah, that'd be my focus area.
There were times in the game against the Bulldogs where I felt like we were struggling once again to make meters. So I think there's could be something on there. Did you also notice there was a change, a difference in the prop rotation where Royce didn't come on in the first half? He came on in the second half. Yeah, and that was a little bit different. So maybe we're trying something different in regards to that. Sorry, Nick, you had your finger
I
up?
was just going to say, I was sitting behind the posts at the end in the second half where Royce was charging off the fence. And he did two sets in a row where he charged the back fence. But that first one was incredible. You could almost hear his footsteps as he was hitting the defensive line. And geez, he carried them forward. But I just wanted to send a shout out to Terrell May because I thought he was incredible. I've been a little bit critical, saying I don't think he's really an impactful prop. I know he makes a lot of meters, but I really didn't think he was the type of prop that, like Fanua Pole can be on his day where he's a little bit more, maybe a little bit better on a footwork and a bit quicker off the mark and maybe a bit more damaging as he hits the line. But Terrell was carrying defence with him for meters and meters last night. He was unreal. And honestly, you talk about, players missing out in Origin. I don't know how he continually misses out in Origin because he is not only a workhorse, but he's got to be one of the premier props in the comp at the moment, especially off the back of yesterday's performance.
Yeah, 100%. Just for the record, it was the 56th minute, according to my notes, where Hunt first came on. So that is a big difference. But back to wrapping Terrell, that Skelton try, Terrell did exactly the right thing there, where he took the ball. We already had the momentum and got the Bulldogs backpedaling. He was the perfect guy to hit the ball at that point, and then we ended up with the try. So yeah, I'm glad that you picked out Terrell. He often does go unnoticed. I'm a big fan, as I always just say, just a little bit more run first and a little bit less ball playing at times would just take him to that next level, I think. But go, Josh.
And onto that point, I think last night that was the best of just run forward that we've seen from Terrell. Yeah. Like it wasn't the ball playing, it wasn't the fancy stuff. He was charging and he was dragging blokes, as you guys mentioned. And I think that like the more we see of that as the season goes on, the better it'll be for him and for us. So yeah, really.
If you're going to play Origin, that's what they're going to want.
Yeah.
I don't know if Terrell made a conscious change to his game yesterday, but for me, there was more of a mix or more of a blend. I thought he ran the ball more, but he still had the offload in his game. Like he still has the ability, and he did it last night. I came home and watched the replay last night, and I watched the highlights just before we jumped on. But he made a lot of hit-ups where he'd carry the man, but then he'd still got the ability to turn and to get the arm out. So he still made some good offloads, but I think you're right. I think he carried the defence a lot more on his back, so it was a bit more run first.
Well, it's a rudimentary game. The best offloads don't come with hitting the line and offloading. They come with making a dent and getting the defense moving backwards and then offloading. So, that if we can sort of fine tune that a little bit more, then I think his game will more consistently get to that higher level because he's got it in him. He's got that natural ability. He's got the body size. He's such a resource to have. We're like with a lot of guys in this team. We're kind of we take it for granted, but we're pretty lucky to have him. We want to talk more about the Bulldogs game for sure, but let's talk a little bit about the future, just the short-term future. Makasini injured. Sione Fainu is going to be out. He failed his HIA. Twal is injured. He's hurt his knee. Josh, you've been watching the New South Wales Cup. We had wins right across the board today, which is fantastic. I'm hearing some names might be added into this game against Penrith, some debuts. Somebody's advocating strongly for Sakuru, who scored 4 tries apparently in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah, it was a really good game. Like, it was a very back and forth game. I think it ended up 38-26, or I think that was about it. So there were lots of tries because there wasn't many conversions either. So it was very much lots of tries. I thought in the forwards, I thought Mav Gaia played really well. And I thought Ethan Roberts was good. He looked dangerous. So I hope and expect we'll see him come into that second row box. I think he was good the week before, and I think he showed good effort in reserve grade. In the backs where we were kind of dominant today, Sakuru scored 4 tries. Look, one of them was an easy intercept near the end. The others, he ran strongly down the sideline. Fiala, what's his name? Fiala Fainga, who's a guy who was playing for Camden Rams last year, but has come into our cup side this year. He probably set up 3 of those tries. It was very much Andrews onto Fainga, onto Sakura, who just charged down the sideline. But he was very impressive, and I'd have him on the bench myself as that kind of reserve back. I assume Toa comes into the side. But yeah, I thought in the forwards, and also Luke Lely did play very well. He was very strong. Like, his runs, this is strange for a small guy. He was dragging people 5 or 6 meters every time he ran. The Bulldogs just couldn't hold him, which is, it's an interesting thing to watch Cup versus NRL. So yeah, the outside backs were very good, but I thought Mav Gaia played well and Roberts played well. I think we'll probably see Mav Gaia into that forward rotation, and probably Roberts, I would assume. Maybe Charlie Murray, who played lock today and played reasonably well. That's an interesting one, given he was moved into lock today. So with 12 being out, so maybe that's a sign from Benji, perhaps. But Benji was there with a bunch of the first graders. He was there on the sideline. So he was watching closely.
We've got some options there by the sound of it. Sakura, do you think, if he does get a role, do you think it would be perhaps in the centres, or do you think second row?
No, look, I think he can. If he was on the bench, he could kind of cover wing, but he could also come on in the second row. He's played a couple of games there in New South Wales Cup this year, and then on the wings. I feel like maybe if the club's looking at it, he might be a cheaper version of Skelton for next year. I think Skelton played well, but they're very similar wingers, big, bustling, guys. So perhaps if we, been talk about Skelton not being kept, perhaps Sakura is the replacement for Skelton next year, in maybe a slightly cheaper version of Skelton next year. So interesting to see.
I don't know if Skelton's playing for a contract, but he was awesome yesterday.
He was fantastic. Yeah,
he made, I think it was 228 meters or something similar, something around those numbers. It was massive.
Yeah, huge.
His kick returns were incredible. He scored that. I think it was our first try. I can't remember. He scored a try. But he looked good, and we know that he can be good. He's just got to get those sort of those moments out of his game. But
he still had one when he flicked it out there under the.
Yeah, that was horrible. But apart from that, I thought he was really good. So interesting.
Yep. He scored 2 tries.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was in the 34th minute. He threw that dumb ball on the first tackle, but we survived. Makasini, Buller threw one as well, I think, from memory. We still got that in our game.
5 minutes of panic where balls were being thrown in our own 10 was not fun.
No. Composure is not often our strong word. Let's have a look at the one-word submissions from the game, from the West Tigers podcast forum. Let's take a quick break. Peter A., his word was gods. We had a little bit of luck from the football gods, and that was earned through grit and determination. Shan, hard to come up with one word, so came up with 3, I think it is, from memory here. Resilience, low IQ, such as dumb passes to people in the same or worse position, as we were just discussing, and also went for Buller. key tackles saved us the game. Mike's word was relief. We needed that win. Tigersman, reversal of fortune. We lost all the stats, but still won this time. Mac Tiger went for stars. We got some back, and we went much better. Nat Mac 78, 6. It was our 6th win of the season. We won by 6 and survived all those 6 agains. Number 6 played well, and with 6 minutes to go, it was hard to stay composed. It's true. Wagga Tiger, gutsy, but we might be in trouble next week. LFC Tiger, happy. We were rubbish when he came off. Tiger Stew, back in the winner's circle, and having Appy and Buller back is such a difference. London Tigers, desperate. Jerome and Stafford's last-ditch tackles saved us the game and our season. And Teddy S, their word was rubbish. Skelton's offload to no one, and also the officiating. It was also rubbish. I'm going to give somebody a rap who I haven't heard discussed. We haven't mentioned his name on the pod so far tonight. I haven't seen him really mentioned anywhere on the socials. But I thought he did a lot of really good work that went unnoticed, and that is Kai Pearce-Paul. I thought his defense was very, very good, Nick. He, sometimes you just want a guy that doesn't shine and go crazy one week, but he is proving to be a very consistent resource for us.
I love KPP, not just his defense, but his attack as well. It's been nice to watch Romy drift across to the right a little bit and feed KPP some good ball as well. So we saw Romy create that sort of combination with Samuela, but with Samuela out, we kind of need to find alternate options, and KPP's out there. But he's an absolute weapon. You know what else he can do? If he gets caught at dummy half, he's got an amazing bullet pass on him. He can feed that ball out of the ruck really quickly. So he's a man of many talents, KPP. I do like big, tall men, big strapping back rowers. So he's up there with Samuela for me. 2 of my favourites.
That's what your Google search history seems to show anyway. Yeah.
Tall men with gold teeth. All KPP needs is a gold tooth in the front, and I'll tell you what.
All right. Leave it there. Josh, KPP, like he on that right edge has been problematic for us, but he does a lot of work that defensive work that goes unnoticed. In that second half, I was watching him, and he just the amount of really important tackles that he was there for was incredible.
I totally agree, Joel. It's not the amount of tackles, and he makes plenty. It's that he makes the really important ones, and he makes them well. Like as you said, there are a couple of times there where the Dogs were through, and he just threw his body at them. There are even a couple which I imagine probably went down as missed tackles, but he was kind of scrambling, got to the guy, held them up enough so the next 2 guys could get there. So they kind of count as missed tackles probably in the stats, but without him, the Dogs were away and had scored. So no, he's been a sensation. And if we want to look at just how important he is, look how bad the other edge looks that he's not on. I think that comparison is dramatic. So and that's he really is sensational. I think the game didn't get in the attack as much as I would have liked, but I think that probably just reflected where the game was going, and probably the conditions weren't necessarily suitable out there. But he's been sensational this year, and I think that's really he's a real standout every week. I think he's one of the 2 guys I think don't get enough raps. Him and Sunia Taruva is the other one I don't think gets enough raps. So I was a big fan of his performance every week. So, yeah.
One player that also needs to be wrapped, and we won't see him next week, and hopefully not too many weeks after that, but Alex Twal was incredible again yesterday. And when I watched the replay, I think it may have been Mick Ennis, who's probably your favourite, Joel, but I think he said that Alex Twal's playing representative level football consistently. Yeah. Which, it is Origin time, but he's been at this level since round 1.
He got fired up last night too.
Oh, wasn't it good?
Yeah, he did get fired up. Yeah, he was getting baited a little bit, and he was giving it back. So he did get charged for I don't know. I probably didn't get charged, but he got penalised for a shoulder charge at one point.
Yeah,
I don't care. It was still so good. He smashed Leo Thompson. Went in there, gave it to him,
and then he verbally gave it to him after the hit as well, which was unreal to see that emotion come out of Twally. Loved it.
Yep. Brilliant.
Another big tall man.
Somebody else I've got to give a rap to is Sione Fainu, who last week I said was a bit worried about his form. I thought he bounced back. Josh, he is one of the only guys in the West Tigers pack that consistently wins. Like he does hurt people. A couple of his hits last night really impressed me. I thought he was playing out of position, of course, but I thought he was one of our best forwards.
Yeah, look, I think he did well in his 40s. I mean, as you said, he's out of position. I think sometimes he gets beaten on that edge in defence. But I don't. I mean, he's a prop who's playing in the second
Yeah,
row, so of course he's going to get beaten a bit. So I can't really blame him for that. It probably talks to our depth being a challenge there. But the fact he goes out there and does a good job, as you said, some of his hits, and when he runs the ball. He steps, he creates some little. Every run, he seems to find his feet as well. I find his knees like can be kind of going forward. Yeah, no, I think he's. I think but I think his best position is bench prop, and I think where we've had to use him out of position. Unfortunately, he's going to be out with a HIA for next week, so opens up that spot again for a third choice back rower. And after we saw Alex Seyfarth play there for the last 40 minutes of the night. Hopefully it's not him. So, yeah.
yeah, 100%. We'll have a look at those stats in a moment. I wanted to give Stafford a rap for that tackle. He's hard to nail down, isn't he? He's hard to work out because sometimes you look at him, Nick, and you go, this guy can really play. And you think he doesn't seem to be troubled by that injury. And then other times he looks broken and busted and he looks like he's a New South Wales Cup player. I don't know with Stafford Toll what to do.
Me neither. I actually got a bit confused because at one point during the first half, I noticed he was on and I thought, hang on, did we make a switch? Like sometimes when you're sitting in the stand and you're not hearing the commentary and you don't see the pregame stuff, you can kind of get lost a little bit. But I saw him out there and I really wasn't sure what had happened, but I actually thought he stood up. I think he had a really good game. And you mentioned that he made a couple of really good defensive saves. And I mentioned on the last pod that I thought he looked a bit out of sorts in defence in Cup playing for the Magpies. But, I've said it before, Stafford at his best is one of the best centres in the game in terms of what he can do output-wise. But we don't see it regularly enough. So, yeah, I don't know how to read him either, but I was impressed with what he gave us yesterday.
Yeah, it's a weird one. What do you got for us, Josh? Are you going to be stats man or you got something to
Statsman
say
today.
about Stafford?
Look, quickly on Stafford, I thought it was a very mature performance coming off the bench for him after what probably would have been a hard couple of weeks. His defense was good. When he ran, it was safe. At the end there, he was gripping onto that ball like it was his child. So, no, I thought it was a very mature performance from him in what must have been a difficult few weeks. He still doesn't look 100% fit though. His arm just doesn't still look great. Look, so some interesting stats for the weekend. I mean, as we kind of mentioned, I think the Dogs dominated a lot of them, especially that second half. They had a lot of possession. 89% completion rate though, 35 out of 39 versus Dogs 38 out of 45. They had 7 incomplete sets to our 4. I think that probably tells the story of how we got over them last night. Is we held onto the ball, and even the ones we didn't complete, we probably that we were in decent position. We weren't, what wasn't happening in our own 10 meters. We were kind of solid. So I think that was a good stat. Post contact meters were fairly close, which is probably good for us, given they had an extra 20 or 30 runs. The overall post contact meters were fairly close. Which I thought was good. Look, there were lots of missed tackles from both teams. I think that's probably to me. I don't know, Nick. It looked a bit kind of slippery out there. Like the people were slipping off tackles a lot. It didn't like both teams. It didn't particularly. I don't think anyone shone in defence as an overall. Our kick defusal 73% to the Dogs 50%. I think that gave us some opportunities last night, and we probably took a couple of them, which is important. So I thought that was a key stat. And my Google Chrome just shut. No, there we go. And look, the big one. Look, it was nice of Cam Serrato to come out and criticise the ref about how badly he ref the Tigers and how many favours he gave the Dogs. I thought, when you've lost, to come out and criticise the ref, given the ref gave you a 7-0 6 again count, and gave you a try when you didn't get to the try line. Like that was, I thought he probably went on a bit there, but then I realised, no, he's actually complaining to the NRL about how unfairly the Tigers were refed. So I thought that was really nice of Cam Serrato to come out and do that. I thought that it's very mature on his behalf. So, the ref schooled us in the 6 again, but I think, we were pushing the envelope. I don't necessarily mind the ones that were called against us. I'm just not really believing the Bulldogs weren't within 10 meters or didn't do
Yeah.
anything dodgy in the ruck over a whole 80 minutes.
Mm.
That seems quite unlikely. And if you're Cam Serraldo, you've got to be disappointed that your team's not doing anything in the ruck to slow the ruck down for 80 whole minutes. That doesn't seem very Bulldogs defense like. So maybe that's why he was so cranky. So those are the key stats for the night from a team perspective. And we've talked about a lot of players. Jarrell Skelton's 227 meters. Terrell May, 167 meters, 51 tackles and no misses.
Wow.
The only guy not to miss a tackle for the Tigers last night, and he made more tackles than anyone but Twali. So that's an exceptional effort by him. They were probably a couple of the standout individuals, but a bunch of guys missed a fair few tackles, but it kind of reflected the night. And probably two more interesting. Fanua Pole played 60 minutes. It's the most minutes he's played all season, and probably those extra minutes weren't great for him in that second part. And Alex Seyfarth also played well and truly more minutes than he has been most weeks. So perhaps that reflected his play a little bit, that he's been used to playing 20 minutes, and 54 is perhaps a few too many for Alex. So those were the key stats for the weekend. Oh, the most important stat for the weekend: 4 tries to 3, 22-16, Tigers victory.
Very good, Josh. Very comprehensive, but you did miss one key stat.
Huh?
It's the Lachlan Galvin boo rate was 100%.
100%.
Every single time he touched the ball, he got booed, and I'm glad that it came across in the coverage because I could hear it in the replay, but it was so loud at the ground. My 10-year-old next to me, he got right into it. I was getting into it, where everyone was laughing after every single boo. The poor old Lockie, he's probably got some life regrets, but maybe leaving the Tigers, I don't know. I hope he's happy at Canterbury. I actually sat with a mate who's a Bulldogs supporter, and he kept saying during the game, "Do you want him back? You can have him back." I was like,
well, I was going to say...
Was that Stephen Crichton who was saying that? Was your mate Stephen Crichton?
If you've ever been onto the Kennel, which is the Bulldogs forum, it's quite interesting to look at. Probably they weren't just West Tigers fans that were booing him. They are not massive fans of Lachlan Galvin, who I don't think had a bad game. He's not a halfback. I thought Burton was really disappointing for them. I thought he was more the weak link than Galvin. He really didn't offer very much at all. I don't think he's a 5'8", personally.
Look, I'm like every Tigers fan. I'm more than happy to boo Galvin, and I don't, and don't particularly like what he did to us. But he's not the problem at that side. We won't go into it too much. But the rest of that spine, I mean, Carraz probably makes a difference at fullback, but the rest of that spine has been rubbish. So it doesn't matter what you're doing as a 20-year-old halfback. When your 5'8's not doing much, and your hooker's non-existent, and your fullback hasn't been doing much, and their pack is, I don't know, they just don't have any points in it. Like we were probably, they dominated possession last night, and still only managed 16 points. Like they're just not they just don't have much across the board, and I don't think that's down to the 20-year-old halfback.
I don't know. I don't know if the Dogs' attack was a bit one-dimensional or predictable, but every time the Bulldogs swept to their left, so when they were running towards them in the second half, their backline was set quite deep, but we read them every single time, and our defense sort of came up in like an umbrella shape where our wing was up, and we just held them every single time. They couldn't, they had no sort of run-on advantage onto our defensive line. We just seemed to shut it down really quickly. But maybe that's, coaching we're up to our staff, the way that we, reviewed them and came up with a game plan to shut them down, Josh.
I mean, it's amazing after Adam O'Brien's amazing attacking coaching last year at the Knights that Dogs went, that's our man. The bloke is coaching a team who can't score for half the first halves in the season. The Dogs went, yes, that's our attacking coach. So, look, I think also credit to our defence, and I think some of the changes in personnel helped there, but they didn't throw much at us. Like it's, if it wasn't Tupanua trying to charge through the edge, but that's not good set up play. That's just a big guy running at, a couple of average defenders. So, yeah.
Bronson Cherry's wasted.
What were they doing after last week when he was dominant? They, very strange. Very strange.
We've won, and I don't like to, we don't need to necessarily be negative, but Alex Seyfarth, I'm sorry to say, is not an NRL standard player. He is an occasional NRL standard player where he'll come on, he'll tighten up the middle. But if we're going to be a team that goes from here to here, I'm sorry to say Alex Seyfarth can't be part of that progression. I know that's a harsh call, but that's the way I feel.
He has to be for this season because we're starting to need some backups and reserves to fill in those gaps. But yeah, long term, I know there were discussions during the week with rumors around, was it today? No, it was in locking down, who was it?
Samuela and
Samuela.
Latu.
Yes, of course. My big tall man with the gold tooth.
Yeah.
That he might be one of those players that we may have to let go. So I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's not strong enough to be an NRL prop. He can't defend on an edge. And look, probably lock is maybe his best position. I
He's
think the
best in
few
the middle.
times he's played a bit at lock, where he's not having that big front rower's job of charging through, but without the defensive challenges on the edge. But your lock in Alex Twal plays 80 minutes most weeks, or Latu Fainu coming off the bench, kind of bench player. Alex Seyfarth is not really the kind of lock you need. So I'm with you. I think this year we'll obviously need him because we're just running short of troops. But God, he doesn't offer much, and he like a lot of the problems we had last night were Alex Seyfarth related. Like the teams are running at him on that edge. Like it isn't enough. And yet when he's in the middle, he gets bent back. He doesn't get it's not like, yeah, he does. He's full of effort and he's full of, a bit of bravado, and those are good things. And he's clearly a good trainer.
Yep.
But perhaps he should be captaining the reserve grade side if perhaps that's his kind of, that's perhaps his level. And I think I'd rather Ethan Roberts on an edge. I'd rather Sione and Royce as bench props. I don't if it wasn't for a 6-man bench, I couldn't see him appearing on a bench. And even then, I just don't know. Yeah, he just doesn't have it for me. I agree.
The topic about you'd rather him over Royce on a bench, that's an interesting one because Royce plays little minutes compared to Alex. Alex can play a lot longer minutes if needed.
That's the challenge, and I think that's where he hasn't. That's where you kind of need him on a bench. Yeah, very different things. And a game when no one gets injured, he's probably a great 18 or 19. I think we said that at the start of the year. That guy is there in case someone gets injured.
Yeah, for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah,
but you don't want to play him.
Yeah.
If you don't have to. Yeah.
If he does leave, it'd only leave Madden as the only Anglo player in the West Tigers team. I think if I think about the lineup, but
Adam, well, depends where Lebanon is from.
Yeah. Speaking of Madden, I thought he had a good game. I thought our kicking game was better than it has been the last few weeks. But I thought Luai also had. He really stood up in this game, and we needed him. He's been getting a little bit of stick, and I thought he stood up and he performed quite well.
Can I say, with Jock looking better, we had Uppy running out of the ruck and dictating our forwards and our momentum. So I think that was the key denominator there. That without Uppy, we've seen it the last few weeks. We're a completely different team, and we saw it when Uppy came off. And again, sitting in the stand, I missed it when Uppy came off. I actually said to my mates, what happened to Appy? And I've messaged you guys. I said, is he injured? I had no idea what happened. And then when I watched the replay, he was absolutely gassed.
Yeah.
I've never seen Uppy like that before. So I don't know if Benji gave him 3 weeks off and he's been sitting on a beach drinking cocktails or something, but he looks completely out of shape. But maybe that was just the intensity that he played those 25 minutes with.
Yeah, I do wonder after our slow starts in a bunch of games if Benji's just said, Appy, go out there and absolutely give it everything. Let's kind of get these boys started. I thought Jerome was really good last night. I thought that's probably he's played well in the Cowboys game where we were dominant, but I thought in a game where we were challenged and it wasn't all going our way, I thought he really took on a leadership role. He kicked more. He, had a couple of line breaks early where he was kind of ducking through, and he was a bit more direct, which Joel had talked about. So I thought he was really good. Madden looks better with Appy and a better Jerome around him. I thought he did his job as a halfback, which is really good. So yeah.
Can I just say one of the moments of the evening for me yesterday was in the first half when Romy put on the step to beat Galvin and put Galvin on his butt. That was, I actually missed that it was Galvin during the play, but when they showed the replay and I saw the number 7 go down, it was so funny. And
So
then
good.
I think it was the back of that play, Galvin got up and had chased and tried to make a tackle on Luai, and Luai was just laughing in his face and giving it back to him verbally. So he had a great time there, putting Lockie on his butt.
Yeah, it was a highlight. It was also a highlight to watch the game and know that we'd won. So although I had that stress when I knew the game was on and I couldn't watch it, looking at the score and finding out the final score was fantastic. And then watching a game um, where I know that we've won is a good experience. I'm sure we've all had it as fans. The yin to that yang is when you've got to do the podcast and you know that we've lost and you've got to sit there and watch a loss. That's
Yep.
that's taking one for the team. That is.
It's hard work. And I'd also just like to say thank you to everyone that actually listens to a podcast, especially after a loss, because they can be a
100%.
tough listen.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate it. So thank you.
Should we have a look at this stat? Here comes the big stat on the screen. There it is right there. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening in, it says 6 from 13. So there are 13 games to go for the West Tigers and one bye. So what's that? That's a potential, well, it's 26 potential points, but 28 points are on offer. We're currently on 16 points. Let's say we want to get that 6 from 13 is based on getting to 30 points. So 6 from 13. 50%, guys. We've been hovering at 50% for the past 12 months. I think yesterday was actually the 1 year anniversary since Galvin left us, and our win rate has been consistently welded at 50% over that time. And I don't think the Bulldogs win rate is that good. So you could take what you want out of that. But how are we feeling at this point? Nick, I was feeling good when it looked like the influx, the players were coming back in and we were getting stronger. But then I look at that little list there with Macassini out, Sione out, Twal out, and I see the Panthers, and I think it's going to be hard to make that 5 from 12.
If unless something dramatic happens to Nathan Cleary this week, health wise or fitness wise, and I'm not going to be sitting here poking pins in a voodoo doll. I don't have one, but I probably could make one. I think it's going to be a very difficult battle against the Panthers this coming weekend. I'm not going to write us off. I'll wait to see what the team list is like when Benji announces that on Tuesday, but I think we are pushing Pooh uphill, which puts a lot more emphasis on that requirement that to beat the Bulldogs yesterday. Like that had to happen. But after that, Josh spoke about before, we got Titans and we've got Dolphins, Newcastle, Dragons, just in the next 4 or 5 weeks. But we're going to be without a few players in that period of time too. So look, I'm nervous. I said it at the start of the year, this has to be the year that we play finals. It just has to be. Like, we cannot wait any longer. Like, it is do or die this season. Sure, I'd like to be saying the same thing next year, but I'd really like to think that we can actually play finals football in 2026. So we're there and thereabouts. We're in with a shot.
We're still in it.
We are still in it. And like you said, Joel, yesterday's win was critical that we didn't go down that 5-6 loss consecutive loss streak that we've had in many seasons gone, in recent times. So we did break that. Let's see what happens. I mean, after Panthers, we got our last Leichhardt game until it's redeveloped. So that's going to be massive. I hope that we're all going to be there. I'm 100% going to be there, and I cannot wait. And if we lose to the Titans, we do not deserve to play finals. So it's a big couple of weeks coming up to find out what we're all about.
Yeah, the one thing that scared me over the weekend was Blake Brayley breaking his arm, because that opened up a bench hooker spot for New South Wales, and we've got games against, now luckily the games are against the Titans and the Dragons before Origin, but then we got Dolphins after the next, or on the Saturday after, so that's a struggle for Appy, and then Warriors the Friday after the third Origin. So if we play those 4 games without Appy, and maybe that explains why Benji had Latu playing 30 minutes at hooker last night, because while we were in front, he wanted to stretch that out. We play 4 games without Appy, even against some lower ranked sides there. I mean, I know Titans will be without Tino, it'll be at Leichhardt, but 4 games without Appy is that without if Blake Brayley doesn't break his arm, I think we're a certainty for finals. But Sharks Blake Brayley breaking his arm gives me shudders about playing those 4 games without Appy, perhaps.
Hey, Josh, maybe Uppy coming off after 25 minutes looking absolutely busted was a ploy by Benji to say, hey, Laurie, look how out of shape Uppy is. He can't play Origin. You can't
Just
pick
isn't up to it. Yeah,
He has a lot of calf tightness.
Yeah.
But you know what? I played golf with Uppy. I don't know if I told you, but he did tell me he is more than willing to put his hand up if the Blues need him. And he's at the age, he's at the pointy end of his career. He doesn't have much
need him
left.
more.
I know we do. Yes, we do. But from a Uppy Coruscant perspective, like a fan perspective, I would love to see him play Origin.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, absolutely. Great.
The hunger is still there. So I would hate to think that we're going to run out with Tristan Hope even on the bench. But maybe put him in for game 3. I don't know. We do need wins though as a club.
I don't think we could beat a team that's better than us without Appy.
Yeah.
No. But
agreed.
Look, if we have to play, it's my worry is the team's worse than us. If we take Appy out and we play the Titans and the Dragons before and Dolphins, those 3 games are probably games we have to win. Like, I'd actually rather Appy didn't play in, say, a Warriors game or something, because you go, well, that's probably it could be a loss, or a Panthers game where you're probably going to lose anyway. But I want him in the games that we have to win. So
we're gonna have to learn to win without him. Like, we cannot just rely on a 32, 33-year-old hooker, whatever he is. Whether that's Latu at 9 or someone else, but we're going to have to learn how to do it. So someone's going to have to adjust their game a little bit if they're in that 9 jersey or you're playing a dummy half, and figure out how to be a bit more Uppy-like.
That's a big call, but he's such a talent. This game against the Panthers, what do we think we're looking at? Obviously, we'll come back after the team is named. Obviously, Buller. I'm thinking maybe Tavano keeps his spot on one wing. Skelton keeps his spot. Skelton did look pretty injured, though. There's something going on. I think it was his left shoulder, I think, was pretty well strapped up. He was down for a period. He's a pretty tough guy, but I presume they'll be the wingers. I would think maybe Lay Lily might come into calculations. He had a pretty good game by the sound of it, Josh, but maybe Tavano's done enough.
I think Tavana's done enough. I thought he was quite good last night on the night. I thought and he made a couple errors, but there were errors, like one was a try saving error and one was a trying to create a try at the other end.
Yeah.
So I thought he was good. I think he definitely holds his spot.
And if you want to maybe put maybe it's not Seraldo's fault, but their first bomb, they put it, you could tell they were testing out Tavana because they've watched the game against Cronulla. But that was the last one they put in his direction. I was expecting him to be bombarded, but either they weren't following the instructions or they didn't get the instructions. Taruva and Toa in the centres.
No other option.
No other option. I can't think of unless you go for a debutant. Obviously, Luai and Madden. We're probably tipping Charlie Murray at lock.
Yeah, well, the other option is Seyfarth. So, and that's probably I think that's probably the question is does Seyfarth keep a spot in the back row? He wouldn't for me, but I also don't think there's a great deal of other options. Like maybe at lock is his position, so I might have him at lock. So he doesn't have to play on the edge. Yeah.
What about on that left edge? Ethan Roberts gets another go?
I'd give him another go. Yeah.
Me too.
KPP, Terrell, and Fanua Polo, obviously, and Appy at hooker. The bench, there's going to be some question marks here. I mean, obviously, Hunt keeps his position. Latu will be there. Maybe Gaia gets a game against his former club. I'm not exactly sure who else, just off the top of my head, might featuring on that bench. We're going to need another prop, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, Mav Guy's been playing props, so Hunt and Mav Guy are the props. Maybe Bunty comes on as well. Murray was on there on the weekend, so I think that's kind of your backs. I think, and I just mentioned Seyfarth at lock. If that's the case, maybe he plays 20 minutes and Larchu comes on and plays the rest of the game, and Appy plays the 80. So he has some calf tightness before Origin. And then we've got to find another back, outside back, as I said earlier. I reckon like the one for me. He's not been mentioned before. Is Fainga, because he's been playing centre end wing. I'm not sure Sakuru or Lali can play centre end wing, and that's kind of what you need off that bench, especially when you've got Taruva, who can play anywhere. You can move around, I guess. But I'd have Fainga come in. But who knows? Hopefully, you don't need the 19th man off the backline bench. So
yeah. All right, very interesting. Well, the next edition of the West Tigers podcast will come after that team is named. We might have official confirmation of Jake Avarillo's signing by then as well. So we'll
maybe he can play in the centres this week, Joel, if he signs the next day or so.
Why not? Exactly. He wants to be back in Sydney. I'll drive up and get him if he likes. We need troops. And if you're watching on YouTube and you want to, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to join in the conversation on the West Tigers podcast forum. Thank you, boys. It's very lovely to do another post-win edition of the West Tigers podcast. What's this, our 6th +2 trial wins? It's been pretty good so far this year.
It's nice to win.
Yeah, winning's good.
Especially on a birthday weekend. Happy belated again, Joel.
Thank you, Nick.
I trust it was a good weekend, apart from the Tigers' victory, of course. So congratulations on making it to 60 once again.
Thank you, Nick. And that was the last time we'll see Nick on the West Tigers podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.